My wife said in therapy, "Between you and my ex, I'd choose." I'm 36 years old and have been married to my wife Sophia, 34, for 7 years. Although in total we've been together for 9 years, we don't have children. She always said she wasn't ready and postponed our plans to start a family year after year, something I respected because I thought we had time. Looking back in retrospect, perhaps that was a sign I should have paid more attention to. Maybe she was never planning a future with me. We had been in couples therapy for about 3 months. It was her idea. In fact, she said we had lost our spark and needed professional help to reconnect. I agreed immediately because I loved her and wanted to fix whatever had broken between us. I thought we were making real progress. The therapist seemed competent and insightful. We were communicating more openly than we had in years. I was learning her love language, or whatever they call it now. I genuinely believed we were getting through the rough patch. Last Tuesday was our usual session, 6 p.m., the same office in Colonia, Roma, the same uncomfortable leather couch. The therapist asked us to do an exercise, something about being radically honest about our deepest feelings. A safe space for truth, she called it. No judgments, no interruptions, just pure honesty from both parties. Sophia started. She talked about feeling disconnected lately, about how sometimes she wondered if she had settled too quickly by marrying me, about how she missed the passion and excitement of when she was in her 20s. Normal things, I thought. All marriages have their ups and downs. Every long relationship goes through phases where the excitement fades. Then the therapist asked a question that changed everything in an instant. If you could go back and make a different decision about your life, would you? Sophia fell silent. Complete silence. The kind of silence that makes your stomach drop because you feel something terrible is coming and you're powerless to stop it. Sometimes I think about him, she said softly, almost whispering. My ex, Leonardo, the one from before you. I knew exactly who she was referring to. They dated for 2 years in their mid-20s. He had left her. In fact, he moved to Monterrey for a job opportunity and didn't want a long-distance relationship. She was completely devastated when we met. I helped her heal that broken heart. I was patient. I was kind. I was everything she said she needed. Or so I believed. The therapist nodded, encouraging her to continue exploring those feelings. I've been following him on social media. He came back to Mexico City about a year ago. He's not married, and I sometimes wonder, what if things had been different? What if he had stayed? My heart was beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. But I stayed quiet. A safe space for truth, right? That's what we agreed to. Have you ever talked to him? The therapist asked gently. We've sent some messages. Nothing inappropriate. Just catching up, seeing how we're doing. Complete surprise to me. Totally and absolutely new information. She had never mentioned any of this. Not once in the year that Leonardo had apparently been back in the city. The therapist turned to me. Matteo, how does it make you feel to hear this? Before I could open my mouth to respond, Sophia continued as if a dam had suddenly broken and she couldn't stop a flood of words. I don't know if I married the right person. I love you. She looked at me with tears welling in her eyes. I really do, but I don't know anymore if I'm in love with you. There's a difference. And when I think about him, I feel alive, electric, the way I used to feel when everything was new and exciting. The therapist leaned forward in her chair. This is important work. Let's explore this feeling further. If you had to choose right now, at this precise moment, between your husband and your ex, what would your instinct tell you? I expected her to hesitate. I expected her to say she was confused and needed more time to process it. I expected her to say it was complicated and she didn't know. I expected something that acknowledged the 7 years we built together. Instead, without hesitating for even an instant, she said, if I had to choose between you and him right now, I would choose him. Before we continue with what happened next, if you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Have you ever experienced something similar in a relationship? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The room fell into a deathly silence. You could hear the hum of the air conditioning. The therapist's face became completely expressionless. Her professional training kicked in to hide her reaction, but I saw the flash of shock before she masked it. She didn't expect that answer either. In all her years doing this, she probably hadn't heard something so brutally honest and devastating. I sat there for about 5 seconds. It felt like an hour. 7 years of marriage. 9 years of my life invested in this woman. Building a home together, planning a future, supporting each other through difficult times. And she had just told me in front of a professional witness that she would choose a guy who left her years ago over me. I stood up slowly. Then go and choose him. I grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair. Wait, isn't that what Sophia started, trying to grab my arm. I didn't pull away from her touch. You just told me, in couples therapy specifically designed to save our marriage, that you would choose your ex over me without hesitation, without even thinking about it? What am I supposed to do with that information? Beg you to reconsider? Compete for your attention? You want him? Go find him. We're done. This was supposed to be a safe space. I was just being honest, like you always asked me to be. And I sincerely thank you for the honesty. Now I finally know exactly where I stand in your heart, and it's not first place. Goodbye. I walked out. I didn't look back. I got in my car and drove straight to my buddy Pablo's apartment. He's my best friend. I've known him since freshman year at UNEN. I told him what happened over a bottle of tequila. He didn't say much, which was exactly what I needed. He just listened and poured me another shot when mine emptied. At 11:47 p.m., my phone vibrated. A voice message from her. My love, please. I didn't mean it. It was just the exercise. I was being hypothetical. Please come home. I love you. I chose you 7 years ago. What I said came out completely wrong. Please call me back. I'm so sorry. Please, I'm begging you. I listened to it once and turned off my phone and went to sleep on my friend's couch. That was 4 days ago. I haven't been home since then. I haven't returned any of her calls or messages. I haven't responded to a single text. Some people might think I'm overreacting, but I should have stayed and talked it through like civilized people. But there's something that keeps spinning in my head. She didn't hesitate for even a second. Not a single hint of doubt crossed her face. After 7 years of marriage, 9 years together, she didn't even pause before saying she would choose another person over me. That's not a slip or a momentary lapse in judgment. That's the truth, finally coming to light in a moment when her guard was down. Tomorrow morning, I'm meeting with a family law attorney. Update 1. Well, a lot has happened since my original post. First, meeting with the attorney. I sat down with a family law specialist recommended by a colleague who went through his own separation last year. I laid out the entire situation in detail. His assessment was pretty straightforward but sobering. We have an apartment in Colonia del Valle with both names on the deed, purchased 5 years ago with money we both saved. We got married under community property because we were young, foolish, and hopelessly in love. We have investment accounts, joint savings, 2 cars. In Mexico, with our matrimonial regime, everything acquired during the marriage is divided 50-50 in a no-fault separation. It doesn't matter that she committed emotional disloyalty, which, in my opinion, months of secret messages with her ex absolutely count as such. It doesn't matter what she said in therapy. The law doesn't care about feelings, betrayal, or broken hearts. In short, I'm going to lose approximately half of everything I've spent years building. The apartment will probably have to be sold because neither of us can afford to buy out the other's share. I'll walk away with maybe 3,200,000 pesos in total assets after everything is divided. Not nothing, but not what I had either. The attorney said, this is standard and you need to prepare for the financial reality. I signed the contract anyway. There are things more expensive than money. My sanity and my self-respect are worth the cost. The attorney sent her the petition by courier on Wednesday afternoon. Wednesday night, my phone exploded. Not from her, but from her mother. How dare you send my daughter papers like she's a criminal? After everything she's done for you. She made a mistake in therapy trying to be open with you, and you throw away your entire marriage. Ma'am, with all due respect, your daughter told me she would choose another man over me, her husband. That's not a mistake. It's a confession of where her heart really is. She was being honest. You always told her you wanted honesty in your marriage, and I got exactly that. Now she gets to experience the consequences of that honesty. I'm not going to apologize for having self-respect. You're going to regret this for the rest of your life. She's the best thing that ever happened to you, and you're too blind to see it. If that's true, then I'm really excited to see what life gives me next. Goodbye. I hung up. I blocked her number immediately. I know some people will probably think that's childish, but honestly, I can't deal with emotional manipulation and guilt trips right now. I need to protect my mental health. On Thursday, I had a surprise visit at my colleague's apartment. Her best friend, Fernanda, showed up unannounced. Apparently, Sophia told her exactly where I was staying. You need to go home and talk to her like a rational adult. She's a mess. I'm sure she is. She didn't mean what she said in that therapy session. She was confused and overwhelmed. The therapist cornered her emotionally and she panicked. The therapist asked a simple question. Your friend answered it voluntarily, without being forced, without hesitation. Marriage requires effort. You can't just leave over one difficult conversation. A difficult conversation where my wife explicitly told me she would choose her ex over me without even thinking about it. Yes, actually, I absolutely can leave after that, and I am leaving. You're being very dramatic about all this. I'm being clear about my boundaries. There's a significant difference. Please leave. She left reluctantly, but not before telling me I was making the biggest mistake of my life. People really love that phrase, as if they have a crystal ball showing them the future. Friday night, Sophia finally managed to contact me by calling from an unknown number I didn't recognize. Please, can we just talk face to face? I'll go wherever you want. Tell me the place. There's nothing left to talk about. The petition is filed. The process has begun. You can't end 7 years of marriage like this over one moment. I'm not the one who ended it. You ended our marriage when you told a therapist you would choose your ex over your husband without a moment's doubt. I'm just making it official. I was trying to be honest. You always said honesty was the foundation of our relationship, and now you're getting total honesty back. I honestly don't want to be married to someone who fantasizes about another man and admits it out loud in front of witnesses. That's my honest truth. This isn't fair. You're punishing me for being vulnerable. I'm protecting myself from someone who clearly doesn't value our marriage the way I do. That's not punishment. It's self-love. It's self-protection. She started crying on the phone. She told me she loved me, that she had made a terrible mistake, that she would do absolutely anything to fix what she had broken. Have you messaged him since the therapy session? I asked quietly. Silence on the other end. Have you contacted your ex since I walked out of that room? More silence. Then, almost in a whisper, I was upset and hurt. I needed someone to talk to who understood me. There was the truth revealing itself again. So your first instinct when our marriage was in total crisis was to contact the man you said you would choose over me. Thank you for confirming beyond all doubt that I made the right decision. I hung up. What would you have done in this situation? Would you have given her another chance or done exactly what I did? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear how this story ends. Update 2. Things have become significantly more complicated and more revealing about who Sophia really is. She hired an attorney. Not just any attorney, but a shark type, known in the courts for her brutal tactics and maximizing settlements. Her parents are paying for everything. Apparently, this was the first clear sign that this wasn't going to be the amicable separation I naively hoped for. Her attorney's first move was to demand that I immediately vacate the marital home so she could move back in. She had been living with her parents since I left, and apparently that was traumatic and humiliating for her. My attorney firmly opposed. The apartment is owned by both of us under community property. Neither party has a legal obligation to leave until it's sold or the separation is finalized. But the aggressive demand told me everything I needed to know about how this was going to proceed. Then came the financial discovery process, a standard procedure. Both parties must fully disclose all assets, debts, and income sources. Her attorney now claims I hid money from her because my salary increased by 270,000 pesos last year due to a promotion I received. I absolutely didn't hide anything. It's all there in my annual statements that she signed. But they're trying to argue that I should have proactively informed her about future earning potential and that the promotion represents hidden value. My attorney says this is just for show, that they're trying to negotiate from a manufactured position of strength, but dealing with it is still exhausting and costly. The ex situation also developed in interesting ways. Through mutual friends who still talk to both of us, I found out some details that painted a much fuller picture of what had really been happening. Turns out Leonardo had contacted her first about 6 months ago. He reconnected through Instagram with a casual message. It started with innocent, "How are you?" messages that gradually became more personal over time. She never mentioned any of this to me, not once in 6 entire months. She had been in regular contact with this guy while supposedly working to save our marriage with me. Couples therapy was never really about saving our marriage, but about easing her guilt while she figured out if her ex was a viable option for her future. When I brought this up through our attorneys, because we're not supposed to communicate directly anymore, her response through her attorney was very revealing. She didn't deny anything. She simply said the conversations were for emotional support and not romantic in nature. Great. So my wife was receiving secret emotional support from her ex for 6 months while we were actively paying for couples therapy together. Totally normal and healthy marital behavior. Her family has been absolutely relentless in their campaign. Her father went so far as to call my office in Santa Fe asking to speak to me directly. Human resources had to intervene because he showed up at reception twice, demanding to see me. I consulted my attorney about a restraining order, though he says it probably won't go anywhere unless there's actual documented threatening behavior. Her sister started a text message war from multiple phone numbers I didn't recognize. The same theme every time, that I'm destroying the family, that I'm being unnecessarily cruel, that I need to be a man and fight for my marriage. Apparently their definition of being a man means accepting that my wife openly prefers someone else and just living with that knowledge. Fighting to keep someone who doesn't want to be kept. No thanks. But here's where things got really interesting and somehow satisfying. Her ex, Leonardo, isn't actually interested in her the way she thought. A mutual friend who knows the situation showed me his recent Instagram stories. He's been dating someone else for the past 4 months, and it looks pretty serious, too. Vacation photos together, meeting each other's families, a whole progression of a relationship in form. My wife apparently either didn't know this crucial detail or chose to completely ignore it while fantasizing about him. So she blew up a real, functioning marriage for an imaginary alternative future that was never going to happen. A guy who left her once before and who clearly isn't available to her now. And she chose that impossible fantasy over me. I'd almost feel sorry for her situation if she hadn't spent the last 3 weeks trying to leave me with nothing financially while painting me as the villain. The apartment went on the market last week priced at 8,700,000 pesos based on comparable sales in the area. Each of us should walk away with around 1,500,000 after paying off the mortgage, assuming it sells at a reasonable price. That's the only silver lining in this whole mess. My attorney says we should be able to finalize everything in the next 2 months if she stops fighting every minor point in detail, but her attorney keeps filing motions to delay and extend deadlines. The longer this drags on, the more expensive it gets for both of us in legal fees. But her parents are financing her entire legal strategy, so she has no incentive to be reasonable or efficient. I'm still at my buddy's place. It's cramped and uncomfortable, but It's temporary. Once the apartment sells and I receive my share, I'll get my own place. I'll start from scratch. I'll figure out who I am outside of a marriage I honestly thought would last forever. Update 3. It's over. I signed the final papers last week. Officially separated after 7 years of marriage and 9 years together. The final settlement was more or less what my attorney had predicted from the beginning. The apartment sold for 8,500,000 pesos, a bit below the initial price. The market has been unpredictable lately. After paying off the mortgage and all selling costs and commissions, we each walked away with about 1,400,000 pesos. The investment accounts were divided exactly in half. She kept her car, I kept mine, and personal belongings were divided based on who had originally purchased them and what we could agree on. The total cost of the process for me was about 250,000 pesos in legal fees. Her parents spent considerably more on her shark attorney, probably close to 450,000 pesos. It was worth every cent I spent for my peace of mind and to close this chapter. The last month was exhausting, but also deeply revealing about who she really is. Her attorney tried one last desperate move in the final stretch, claiming she was entitled to compensatory maintenance because she had sacrificed professional opportunities to support our marriage and home. My attorney demolished this argument in about 10 minutes. She earns 1,200,000 pesos a year as a project manager at a reputable company. I earn 1,650,000 pesos as an engineer. We don't have children together. She wasn't a stay-at-home wife who gave up her career for our family. She was a professional who simply earns less than me. That's not grounds for compensatory maintenance in any reasonable interpretation of the law. The judge completely agreed. No maintenance granted. A clean cut for both parties. During the final hearing, I saw her in person for the first time in almost 2 months. She looked tired, worn down by the entire process, somehow older than I remembered. Her mother was there in the audience, shooting me death glares from across the room. Her father sat with his arms crossed, shaking his head in disapproval at everything my attorney said. Her sister wasn't present. Apparently, they had some kind of fight about something completely unrelated to the proceedings. When we had to approach the table together to sign the final papers, she tried to speak to me in a low voice. I hope you know I never wanted any of this to happen. I know you didn't want this to happen. That's almost worse, actually. What do you mean? If you had wanted it, if you had planned it all, at least there would have been a reason, some calculation behind it. Instead, you just said your truth in a moment of vulnerability, and your truth was that you would choose someone else over me. After everything we built, after 9 years, I was confused. I'm still confused about everything. And I sincerely hope you find clarity someday. I really do, but you're not going to find it with me. She started crying softly. Her mother rushed over immediately, looking at me as if I had personally caused all of this, as if I were the villain in her family's soap opera. I signed my name on the last line and walked out of the courthouse. Here's what happened with Leonardo. Since I know everyone is curious about that subplot, he never returned her contact after she reached out to him during our separation. Absolute silence on his part. And now he's engaged to his girlfriend. I saw the announcement on social media last week. My ex-wife's fantasy man was never really available to her. She destroyed a real, functioning marriage for an imaginary alternative future that literally was never going to happen. I heard through the mutual friends we have left that she's absolutely devastated by his engagement announcement, that she feels betrayed because he led her on with his messages. The irony is almost too perfect to be real. She was disloyal to me over a fantasy about someone who, in her mind, betrayed her back by choosing someone else. Her mother has been telling anyone who will listen that I'm a monster who abandoned his wife during a mental health crisis. Apparently, the therapy confession is now being completely reframed as a nervous breakdown that I should have supported with compassion. The mental gymnastics necessary to reach that conclusion would actually be impressive if it weren't so transparently pathetic. Some mutual friends have taken sides in all this. Most went with her. She's always been better at drama and generating emotional support, and her family has been working overtime on the public relations campaign. I lost about 6 friends I thought were genuine and loyal. The handful who stayed and listened to my version are the ones who really mattered anyway. My buddy Pablo let me stay with him the entire time without complaining. He never asked me for rent money. He never made me feel like a burden, not for a moment. When I tried to pay him for the extra expenses, he told me to use it for the deposit on my new apartment instead. That's what true friendship looks like. I moved into my own place 2 weeks ago, a 1-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy or impressive, but it's completely mine. A clean space, with no reminders of a life that's completely over now. Am I resentful about how things ended? Sometimes. Honestly, it's hard not to feel some bitterness when you realize someone you loved deeply for 9 years was secretly fantasizing about someone else for at least 6 months, probably more. When you realize the therapy probably was never about saving the marriage, but about her gathering the courage to eventually leave while managing her guilt. But mostly, I'm relieved. The worst part was never the separation itself. It was the years of feeling like something wasn't right, but not being able to identify or address it directly. Now, finally, I know the truth. And knowing, even when the truth hurts deeply, is better than the alternative of living in uncertainty. She sent me one last message last week after the proceeding was completely finalized. It came via email since I have her blocked everywhere. I know you probably won't read this, but I need to say it anyway. I'm sorry, not for what I said in therapy. I've realized I really meant it at that moment, and you deserve to know the truth about where my head was. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to say it earlier, before we lost more years. I'm sorry I wasted your time and your love. I hope you find someone who chooses you first. You always deserve that from me, and I couldn't give it to you. I read it carefully. I didn't respond. There was nothing significant left to say between us. She was right about one thing, though. I deserve someone who chooses me first without hesitation. And now I have the chance to find that person, even if it takes me a while to trust again, even if it means being alone for now while I heal. The home we built together belongs to someone else now. The future we planned together has completely disappeared, but I'm still here, a bit poorer financially, significantly wiser about people, and finally free from a marriage that apparently was one-sided for longer than I knew. Some people in my original post asked if I regret walking out of that therapy session, if I should have stayed calm and talked it through, if I should have given her the chance to explain or take it back. No, I don't regret it for a single second. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them immediately. When someone tells you they would choose another person over you, let them go. Don't beg. Don't compete for affection. Don't try to convince someone to love you when they've already told you they don't. Just leave with your dignity intact and don't look back. That's exactly what I did, and it's the best decision I've made in my life.